name is Nupur, and if you've been following my channel, you know that I was covering some true crime cases and I kind of stopped. But I'm back. I'm gonna cover a true crime case today. I'm gonna finish that series. And if you wanna know why I've been gone, where I've been gone, and what I plan to do with this channel, then you can stick around till the end of this video. That's where I talk about that kind of stuff. But right now I'm gonna get into what most of you are here for, which is today's case. And today's case is going to be about the murder of Bennett Rebello. Now this case is fairly recent. It only took place like late last year. So fairly recent and also really close to home because it took place in Bombay. This case begins when a suitcase washed ashore on Mahim Beach on 2nd December 2019. Some locals spotted this suitcase and they were trying to get to it, trying to see if they can use it, save it if it's still in good condition. And when they started approaching this suitcase, they realized that something is not right. What they reported was that they saw a human limb sticking out of this suitcase and they immediately called the cops. And cops arrived on the scene around 4:30 p.m. and they immediately spotted that there was a human leg sticking out of this suitcase. When they opened the suitcase, they found other remains, like they found the right leg, the right foot. They also found a left hand and some mutilated genitalia. In this suitcase, police also found some clothes. There were 2 shirts, 1 pant and 1 sweater. And I don't know if the killer intentionally put these clothes in the suitcase while they were disposing of these remains, or whether these clothes were already in this suitcase. Anyhow, these clothes turned out to be like a huge clue for police, and it gave them their biggest lead in this case. The sweater found in the suitcase appeared to be tailor-made, and it had a tag of a clothing brand called Almo Menswear. And police did a simple Google search, and even if you look up on Just Dial, you can find the contact details and location of the shop called Almo Menswear, which is a tailor-made menswear shop in Kurla. Police reached Almo Menswear and they started inquiring if the people who ran it knew who the sweater belonged to. But obviously these people didn't remember every single sweater they've ever made or sold. But if you ever got anything tailor-made, you know that they take like cut up little piece of fabric and they staple it to your bill. And police made Almo Menswear go through over 3,000 receipts to find the piece of fabric that would match this sweater. And eventually they did. They found a receipt with only a first name on it, but they were fairly certain that this sweater came from this bill. And there was only a first name on this bill, and that name was Bennett. Now police just had the first name Bennett, so they just started looking for the name Bennett on Facebook. They started looking for different Bennetts in Mumbai, and eventually they found a man called Bennett Rebello who was wearing the exact same sweater that they found in the suitcase in one of his Facebook pictures. And this confirmed their suspicions that the owner of the sweater was this man called Bennett Rebello. And Bennett Rebello was fairly active on Facebook. I have stalked his Facebook. He was fairly active on Facebook, and you could find all his contact information on Facebook because he was a musician and he represented himself as an artist, and his company was called Fun Music and Enterprise. So on that Facebook page you could find his phone number and stuff, and police tried to contact him through this phone number, and this phone was turned off, and police got more and more suspicious because they knew definitely that he was the owner of the sweater, but they didn't know if he was the victim in this case, if he was the perpetrator, if he was just somebody who owned the suitcase or owned the clothes but wasn't involved in any way. So police needed to track him down, right? He was their only lead, but his phone was unreachable. So police contacted the cell phone company, and the cell phone company told them that the phone had been turned off since 27th November. The first set of remains were found on 2nd December on Mahim Beach. So his phone had been turned off for almost a week, and this is when police became fairly certain that Bennett Rebello might be the victim in this case, and it was his human remains that were found in the suitcase. The remains that were found were sent to Sion Hospital for forensic analysis, but it would be very hard to establish anything from just a few limbs, right? The cause of death or the identity of the victim. It would be hard to establish any of that. So police were on a hunt for the rest of the remains, and they were fairly certain that because the first set of remains washed up on Mahim Beach, that they disposed the remains in Mithi River. And the Mithi River is this river that runs all over Bombay, and police started a manual search through this river, and there were a lot of places that they had to cover, but they manually searched for just any sign of the rest of the remains so that they could find out more about how this crime took place. On 10 December, during a search expedition, police found some remains behind ASB school in BKC. On 11th December, they found some more remains in Kurla, Kabristan. Now, I'm not exactly sure which of these bags contained what, but I know that they contained the rest of the limbs and the stomach and the intestines. And then finally on 30th December, a suitcase washed ashore at Prabhadevi Beach, and this contained the last remaining remains, and this had the head and the torso of the victim. Now, while all this was happening, simultaneously in the timeline, police were also looking into Bennett Revello. They, on 2nd, 3rd itself, had found Bennett Revello's identity through that sweater, and the remains weren't found until 10th of December. So everything that I'm going to say now took place between 2nd and 10th December. Bennett Revello was born on 23rd May 1960, which made him 59 years old at the time that he was killed. He was a musician, he played guitar, and he also represented himself as an artist, as I said earlier, and his company was called Fun Music and Enterprise. He attended karaoke nights at this bar called Soulfry in Bandra, and he loved that place. He would be there like twice or thrice a week. He loved karaoke in general. And other than that, he would sing at Drew Club, and he would mostly perform at like private parties, weddings, events, that kind of stuff. He was divorced at least once, possibly twice, but I'm not sure about that, but at least once, and he lived alone in an independent house, which was a ground plus one story in Bacola and Santa Cruz East. Now let's go back to our timeline where the police were looking into Bennett Revello, and they found his address in Bacola. So they reached his house, but they found it shut, and so they started inquiring with the neighbors, and they found out that Bennett Revello lived with his adopted daughter called Ria, and that nobody had seen either of them in 10 days. The police managed to get into the house, and they collected a lot of evidence from this house. I think there was a lot of blood spatter. I think the rug was covered in blood, so they collected blood samples, and they also found 2 knives, and these knives could have possibly been the murder weapon or could have been used in the dismemberment of the body. And there were fingerprints on these knives, so that was taken into evidence too. Now, police were obviously very concerned about Ria. She was a teenage girl who was missing, and her father had been brutally murdered. So, police were obviously very concerned for her safety, and they launched a search operation to find Ria. Now, Ria hadn't officially been adopted by Revello, but she had been living with him for the past 2 years, and in the house they found no actual adoption paperwork, but they found a letter which Bennett and Ria had both signed saying that she was living with him willingly. And I think Revello had asked her to go to the police station and get it verified, but as far as I know, there was no police verification done. I think it was just like a foster parent for her. Ria had been kicked out of her biological parents' house about 2 years prior because she was found with her boyfriend and they didn't approve of that, so they kicked her out of the house. And since then, she was just living on platforms and sleeping like on bus stops and platforms and stuff. And then I guess Revello found her. I've read in some places that Revello had a previous adopted daughter who was now married and settled, and she put Ria in touch with Revello. So I don't really know a lot about that. There's not a lot of information on that other sister. I think she does exist because all the official stuff I've read, there is a mention of her, and I think she was a witness in the case, but I'm not entirely sure about her existence, to be honest. Police found Ria pretty easily actually. They found her at her biological parents' house in Asalfa in Ghatkopar. And when they found her, she claimed that her father, Bennett Revello, was travelling to Canada, and that's why she was living with her biological parents. But police didn't find her story very convincing, and both her and her boyfriend were taken into questioning. Now, her boyfriend is a minor, so I don't have any information on him. I don't even know his name. But a lot of people did report that they have seen the boyfriend at Revello's house, which is why both of them were taken into questioning. And police were able to crack both of them pretty easily. Ria claimed that on the 24th of November, when Revello came home, he found her with her boyfriend and he got really angry. And I don't know if he found them doing something, but he got very angry and he apparently hit her boyfriend on the head with a guitar, and later he sexually assaulted Ria as a punishment. Then 2 days later, on the 26th of November, Ria and her boyfriend murdered Bennett. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this attack was provoked, but it seemed like they were prepared for between 24th November and 26th November. They made up their mind that this is what they're going to do. When Revello came home on the 26th of November, Ria hit him with a bamboo stick on his head and he fell on the floor. I guess he was kind of unconscious, and then her boyfriend and her stabbed him multiple times, I think at least 5 or 6 times. And I think he was still breathing at that point, so her boyfriend or her, one of them, grabbed a Mortein, like some mosquito repellent, and sprayed it on his face till he stopped breathing. Once they were sure that he was dead, they just went to the other floor and slept. On the next day, they moved his body to the bathroom of the house, which is where it would remain for the next 3 days. During these 3 days, Rhea and her boyfriend were just hanging out. They were seen at Marine Drive. They even posted a TikTok at Marine Drive, and they were just seen on CCTV shopping and chilling. They were also seen buying disposable garbage bags and air freshener, lots of air freshener. After a couple of days of chilling, Rhea and her boyfriend realized that they had to do something about the body in the bathroom. So they contacted one of the boyfriend's friends called Ali Mia, who was 19 years old, and this is a good friend, I guess. He just showed up to Rebello's house with some hammers and knives to help Rhea and her boyfriend dismember this body. And they said that they heated the knives on the stove and then cut his body up into 8 parts. After this, they put the pieces into suitcases and they sprayed these suitcases with attar to keep them from smelling. They took these bags in rickshaws and disposed them one by one in the Mithi River. So the police had Rhea's confession by 7th of December, and if you remember the timeline, the second set of remains weren't found until 10th of December. And when the rest of the remains were found, they were sent for forensic analysis, and all the findings were consistent with Rhea's confession. He had been stabbed 5 or 6 times. There was blood flow trauma on his head. His cause of death was hemorrhagic shock, and they also found Rhea's and her boyfriend's fingerprints on the knives that they collected from the house. Now at this point, Rhea's brother, biological brother, magically appeared from somewhere and provided a birth certificate which said that Rhea was born in 2002. Now Rhea is not her real name, it is an alias that Rebello used to call her by, so it was her new name, but I think her real name was Aradhya. It's out there, I'm not gonna reveal the full name. But turns out that she was a minor and she claimed that she was 19. I don't know if she wasn't aware of how old she was or if she was just lying. But her brother revealed that she was only born in 2002, which made her a minor. So she would obviously have to be tried as a minor like her boyfriend. Rhea claimed that Rebello disapproved of her relationship with her boyfriend and had been sexually assaulting her for a year. And then it was her boyfriend who poisoned her towards taking the step towards Rebello. Yeah, she was frustrated, but her boyfriend is who pushed her and motivated her and said this was the right thing to do. So she first blamed Rebello for sexually assaulting her and then blamed her boyfriend for wanting revenge on Rebello. But I don't think any of that is true, but we'll get to that later. Rhea also said that Rebello had told her that she would inherit his properties after he died, and he had quite a few properties. He had properties in Goa and multiple properties in Bombay as well. She thought that after murdering Rebello, her and her boyfriend would get married and live in the Bakola house. They made this plan on the 24th of November and then put it into action on 26th of November, and I do think that they were prepared enough because they were so nonchalant after just posting TikTok. So I'm sure they were like ready for what they were doing and had prepared for it, you know. It wasn't just a spur of the moment action that, because you'd be shook after, right? If you hadn't planned it, if this wasn't if it was just an accident and you accidentally murdered somebody, you would be freaking out after, not like going to Marine Drive and posting TikTok. So I do believe that this was premeditated. They decided on the 24th that they would do this, and then on 26th they saw an opportunity and went with it. People close to Bennett claim that he could have never sexually assaulted her, and remember I mentioned that there might have been a previous adopted daughter that Bennett had, and if she exists and if she's married and she's happy, that probably proves that Rebello is not a creep, right? Like that he did just adopt people, like foster these women and just help them have a better life. So I don't know. I mean, I also don't know if it's completely okay to be adopting kids off the street like that. So I don't really know the adoption angle, but everybody who knows Rebello says that he just wanted to help out. He was just a nice guy, and Rhea wasn't being kept against her will, right? Like she could go out, she had a boyfriend, her boyfriend came to Rebello's house. So if she wanted to leave, if she was getting sexually abused every day, then why didn't she just leave? But maybe she didn't have anywhere to go. Maybe Rebello was the devil, you know, and maybe the streets were, you know, the devil. You don't know what's going to happen out on the streets, and it might be much worse than what Rebello is doing to her. For now, I don't think the sexual assault thing makes a lot of sense. I think that Rhea just got greedy, you know, like he had this house, he was giving her like food, shelter, blah blah blah, and but then she had to follow his rules. Now she didn't have to follow her parents' rules, and she had to follow Rebello's rules, and she just didn't want to, I guess. I don't know. I mean, they're just kids, so who knows. So that's it for this case. Ria, her boyfriend, and their friend Alenia are all in police custody awaiting trial, and we'll hear about that when we hear about it. But I want to know what you think. Do you think that, you know, Ria was just a greedy girl, or do you think she was a victim of this abusive man? And do you think that revenge is justice? Like, if she was being abused, then she could have gone to authorities about it. And so, taking justice into your own hands, does that make it fair or legal? It definitely does make it legal, but you know, do you think it's fair if she was being abused? Which we don't know at all if she was, you know. But I would love to know what you guys think happened, so leave that in the comment, we can talk about it. So yeah, that's it for this case. And now I'm gonna get into why I've been gone. I mean, so basically this is not like a full-time thing, okay? Like, I'm gonna upload when I feel like uploading. I have filmed this video before. I filmed like a bunch of videos that I just wasn't happy with, and you know, I edited it fully and I still didn't want to upload it. So I guess I'm a perfectionist. I want to look great, I want to sound coherent, I want the story to be tight, I want the lighting, the back, I want everything to be perfect. I want, like, I'm trying my best. I'm just like have high standards, I guess, so it takes a while. That is one. Two, it's really hard to research these cases, okay? Like, I don't know how to fact check. People don't follow up. Like, this case happened in 2019. Every article that I can find will be December 2019. उसके बाद कोई बात ही नहीं करता है. You know, like, I have no idea what's going to happen when the hearing happens if I hear about it, because it's not in the media, it's not in mainstream media. I can't access the case file. I don't know. So that's another thing. Like, I just don't have enough information to be making these videos, and I really like true crime. I'm really interested in forensic psychology, criminology, stuff like that. So I do want to make these videos, but there's just not enough content. So after I finish this series, maybe after this video there'll be one more true crime video, or maybe two more depending on how I feel. But after that I probably diversify, make some fun content, which is way easier to film than this, because this takes me so long. But yeah, that's it from me today. I hope I can make more true crime videos. It's just that there's not enough information, but I'll try my best. I do really enjoy making this kind of content. Please leave in the comments if you'd like me to make more true crime content, or if you want to see my shitty personality more. We can arrange that. So yeah, let me know, and that's it from me today, I guess. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, tell your friends about it, and yeah, I'll see you soon. I promise I'll see you soon. Bye.
That doesn't sound very convincing.